Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday, and welcome to Wow Ergonomics as well. Hope you're having a great day, whatever it is you're doing. If you're listening on catch up, it might not be Friday. I always say that, but it's the truth, isn't it? You know, you can't say it's Friday because it might not be these days with all of this malarkey. And how are you this week,
Very
Steve?
well. It's been a warm week, hasn't it? Very warm. I see you already sipping water and the show's just begun. But
well, you see, I've got the coffee, but I've also got the water. I'm trying to stay balanced. You see, it's
Oh, you can't see because of my background. Oh,
You've
there we
got
go.
the water. You've got the water.
Yeah,
if you're gonna drink coffee, here's a little tip, folks. If you're gonna drink coffee, also drink the water. Right?
Yeah. Yin and yang.
Yin and yang.
Yin and yang.
This doesn't actually do anything for you. The old coffee. Yeah. You might think it wakes you up. It doesn't. It dehydrates you. And this does actually hydrate you. Nothing better than water.
No.
But we like to think that the coffee does something, and if psychologically it helps, albeit. There we go.
Do it. Don't let Graham's little analogy there sort of stop you from taking caffeine on board. So
no. Other forms of medication are available.
Absolutely.
So we have a guest.
We do.
We're going to introduce us straight away now. We're going to try and keep this show quite short because Stephen has a meeting to go to.
Sorry.
We just like to be totally open and honest, and that way people believe in us a lot better. So that's why we're keeping it short. And here's Heidi. Heidi.
Hi.
Good morning.
Heidi.
Good morning.
You came on in the background a minute ago before we went live, and you went morning, and I loved it. I said I love the energy. Where does the energy come from?
I caffeinated early this morning.
Good.
That goes against everything Graham's just said. I love it. You've sort of ruined his earlier story about avoiding caffeine and what it does for you, and you've just hit straight back.
I'm going to say I don't completely believe that. I believe that you have your personality with energy anyway, right?
I've been told that. Yeah, no, I do like a slow start to the morning. I know when you said 9:15, I usually don't do shows before 10 because I kind of like ease in my morning. But it was you, Graham, so of course I said yes.
Thank you.
And it was, but yeah, I can turn it on when I need to, and it gets even better as the day goes on.
Yeah.
If you ask my husband, he might say, "Can we turn it back down?"
Right. It's quite interesting because I'm quite similar. When I first wake up, I'm like that, right? But having said that, I tend to wake up about 5:30, 6 o'clock. So, and I'm a bit like a zombie for the first hour or so. I just put everything on slow mode so that I wake up at the pace that I need to wake up at, which does annoy certain people in the house because they're like, "Come on, let's get going." And it's like, are
you referring to Mrs. Coath by any chance there, Graham?
No, I'm not referring to anyone in particular. It can annoy. We're a big house, and it can annoy lots of them. But I just have to take my time but once I'm on it, I'm absolutely on it. And because I do this a lot as well, I totally understand what you're saying there. One of the things that people don't understand if they don't do this a lot is that when it gets to the end of the day, I am like, because this takes a lot of energy, and in fact, everything that I do takes a lot of energy, and it's really interesting how much that then takes of you. And sometimes the people in the house get the worst bits of me because they get me in the morning when I'm like trying to and then they get me in the evening where I've completely zoned out, right, and I just want to ignore everybody, right, because I've been performing all day. And any musician that's out there, and I've interviewed a few of those, will tell you exactly the same thing. That's what they're like, they're an absolute nightmare to live with. Tell us a little bit about what you do, Heidi.
Well, I help people be a little bit more human online and actually connect better.
Cool.
With well, there's a big disconnect, and I'm sure you guys have noticed this. There's a big disconnect. Everybody talks about the real world being out there. And yet they're building businesses online. We're spending our time online. I mean, hey, we met online. And it's this whole non-valuing the online space. So I'm really working to help the business owners who are building their businesses online build better relationships because they value them as much as they do the ones out there.
Absolutely.
So, and it makes sales easier. It makes trust building easier. It just makes building relationships in general easier, because when we can stop saying the real world's out there and realize all of this is the real world, then it just makes things better.
Yeah. I did a live talk on a similar thing the other day, and I'll send you a link to it, Heidi, because it was a bit of a, well, it was a cross between stand-up comedy and a rant.
I can see that from you.
I didn't realise you did stand-up comedy.
Oh yeah,
Graham is in the comments all the time doing comedy on my
Okay, little known fact. I used to do stand-up comedy. I also used to write for other comedians, and I wrote radio comedy as well. So yeah, I've been around the.
So hang on. The obvious question's got to be, and it's got to be clean, and think about it. By the end of this show, give us your best joke. Now, don't answer it straight away. Got to be clean.
I agree with Stephen.
Best joke. Come on, don't give us the first one. Have a little sort of think in the background,
and it's got to be clean. That's the hard bit.
Well, yeah, I mean that's
at least show clean. At least show clean.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got it already, but I shall. Yeah, I shall come with it later if that's what you want. We shall end the show on a joke. All right. Oh, dear.
I think about 3 years ago we did something similar, and I actually had to deliver my best joke. Do you remember? And it was the one about Prince. It was one about Prince Charles, wasn't it? And where the fox at? Do you remember that one?
Honestly,
yeah.
We're going to be really, really careful. But it's interesting what you should say there, Heidi, because I do think that this and I love segueing people that come on, segue it back into the whole well-being thing. I think one of the things that's causing us a massive amount of trouble in terms of well-being, whether it's anybody at work or whatever, is this disconnect or misunderstanding about what is or where the online world sits and where our real world sits. And it almost feels like half the time what we're trying to talk about is escaping from online to be present in the real world. Whereas actually, especially when you are a business or any business that's involved in selling, you have to, the online world has to be a real world for you now, as well as, actually meeting people.
Yeah.
Right. And you cannot separate the two.
Exactly.
Right? That is the big problem. Right. And when you start talking to people about how they go about doing their sales, they seem to have a very different strategy for online than they do for the real world. And it's almost like this online thing over here, that's not real sales, but this is real sales when we get to meet people tangibly in person and whatever. And that's the problem, right? The problem is that they're not seeing it as a sort of continuation of relationship. They're not seeing what you can do online as an incredibly productive way to actually really meet with people in a really genuine way, and then take that into real life situations. And they're missing a massive trick in that as well, right?
100%. And that's just it. And I noticed even you kept saying it, and this is what I see the disconnect with everybody, is everybody keeps saying the real world. Well, we're only counting out there as the real world. This is the real world, because this is us. We're real here right now.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? It's the
Heidi, you'll learn as this show goes on. Don't, wherever you say, almost think, is it a line from a famous song? Because that will happen.
But the point is, the point I'm making there is that Freddie was singing about this years ago.
Yeah.
Right, even before the internet.
Yep.
He kind of knew. He was premonitioning.
Well, that's just it, though. We disconnect. We close the lid, and that's just it. We get a keyboard and a screen. So many people get a keyboard and a screen between themselves and that, and all of a sudden, you might as well call their online version of them an avatar.
Yeah.
It's maybe who they think they want to be. They do and say things they would never say in person.
Well, we even use that term in marketing, which I hate, by the way, but we use the term avatar,
right? Yeah, I know. I don't like that. We've all these terms we use online, and really some of them, of course, do come from the corporate business world from out there too. But we dehumanize everything when it comes to sales and marketing because we call them connections. Sorry, it's still people. We call it comments. It's still conversation. Content's still even conversation. And we call
dialogue,
them,
isn't it?
leads.
Content is dialogue, right?
Yeah, it's dialogue. All of it's dialogue. All of it's our version of online talking to people. And then there's also the disconnect of, okay, I've done my marketing today. And part of this comes from programming, guys, too. But the social media channels have literally programmed us to be content machines because they don't have a product without us. Yeah. And so they spent 20 years programming us to be content machines for them. So it's this whole thing of, oh my God, I got to appease the algorithm. See, again, we forgot about the human.
Yeah.
So when we bring that
actually takes me
back
into a post that I did last week. I don't know whether you saw it. I was asking people, what is the algorithm? I said, what is the algorithm? What would you answer to that, Steve? What's the algorithm?
Why did you have to come to me first? I was going to listen to what Heidi said and then work my answer.
Okay, Heidi.
I want to hear what I want to hear Stephen too, because
I mean, to me, to the layman, it's just sort of it's the mechanism that delivers something to me. So it's some sort of e-commerce equation that decides this is what I am going to see today if I go on any type of social media.
And yet it's not. And yet it's not all AI and it's not all technology, because the biggest algorithm that's out there are the audience. Right? It's twofold. Yes, there is behind the scenes, there is an algorithm. There is the tech bit of it, which is, screening what you put out there and deciding, whether it should go. But ultimately, it's also the people.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're not writing for the people, if you're not being in touch with the people, if you're not creating a community, etc., you're not building your own algorithm to fight the other one. Right.
When you don't even have to fight it, Graham. Yeah. You don't have to fight it. What people don't realize, okay, let's take the basics of the algorithm is a code set up to deliver you a feed that will keep you as long as possible on the social media platform. Which means
28 hours a day anyway.
Algorithm programming that, because what you engage with, who you engage with, everything you do tells the algorithm and what you want to see in your feed. So if you're engaging with cat videos, you're going to see a crap ton of cat videos.
I knew I was going wrong somewhere.
If you only engage with guys like Graham, you're going to see a lot more guys like Graham. That's what is going to be in your feed, and
can we bring that back to, because we've talked about this a lot, Stephen, in terms of the ergonomic sector. That's one of the problems in the sector at the moment, which is that most of the people within the sector, all they're seeing are other people within the sector. And
or them dash posts because everybody's engaging with them because they're sick of seeing them.
Yeah, no, but they basically there's an echo chamber there, and we see that within a lot of sectors, right? Everybody that knows everybody goes, brilliant, right? Cheerleading. Because and part of the reason they do that is because they're egotistical and they want them to do the same when they put something up there. So it's like if they it doesn't even need to be said. It's that this is not a pod situation necessarily, but this is an unspoken rule situation. If I like yours, you're like mine, and so the more you kind of give on someone's post, they give back to you. But the trouble is, you're feeding nobody's soul, because everybody that's out there that's clapping and cheering and whatever already knows this stuff. They already believe in that stuff. They're not the ones that are going to buy into that stuff at all.
Yep.
And what we've said with ergonomics, Graham, if you go back to the very start, what we've always said with this, and I've had some great examples this week, is there's lots of people who work in ergonomics, workplace ergonomics, know lots about workplace ergonomics. The people who don't work in it don't know a lot about it, but need to know about it. So as you say there, Graham, if we've just got the same people talking amongst themselves, you're only sort of talking to the people who know about it. The big thing with workplace ergonomics is the 80-90% of the working population who don't know about it, who need to know about it. So as you say, how do we break that barrier down and get to that 80-90% of people? We need to keep talking to the subject matter experts. We need to keep educating and re-educating them, but we've got to make the audience wider. And as I say, we did a couple of shows this week where we talked about, some very basic products and peripherals and things like that. And some people knew about it, but the people who don't were quite amazed that they didn't know about something existing that's been around for a long time. So as you say, you've got to really widen and broaden that audience who you're talking to.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I'm going to big up somebody from the sector at the moment. And Heidi, if you're not following him, do follow him. Okay. You know who I'm talking about, don't you?
Well, I think so, but I'm not. So we don't mess this up, I'm not going to say.
It's the man with the van.
Yeah. The legend, Paul Skinner.
Paul Skinner. Right. And what Paul has done, I mean, actually, to be fair to Paul, he's improved as well, right?
Yeah, and he'll admit that as well. We've had him on before, and he said this sort of space has not been his natural space to operate in.
But he's listened, he's absorbed, he's taken it on board, and he's allowed more of his own personality to come out as he's done it. But what Paul's doing really, really well within the space at the moment, he's got a bright orange van, by the way, which is brilliant. Right.
Now, unless you live in the southwest of the UK, Heidi, it's unlikely to drive past your front door.
But that's not the point. And it's liveried really well. And there's even like, where people have this like livery on the front door where it looks like a person's body driving the van, and then you see their head. It's done like that. It's brilliant. Yeah. So he's got this van, and he started doing things like, where's the van, which was brilliant, right? Because that's interactive, that's gameplay, that's gamification, that's really good interaction. But he's also become a bit of a serial networker, which is for any business great idea, right? Especially where you need to find people and build across sectors. He's getting out there, he's meeting people, but he's learned even with that. When he first started doing it, what he was doing was he was going like, I'm at this and I'm talking about this. Now what he's doing, sensible man, is he's talking more about the people than what he's doing. Right? Because you learn after a while, you don't need to talk about you. You need to talk about but it's not about you. You need to talk more about other people. If you start shining a light on other people, guess what? They love it. And then they start shining a light back on you, because then they start writing posts about you and go, oh, I met this amazing man. He's talking about this. You should know about this. Yeah.
And that's real life, because that's happening, because you follow him and so do I, Graham, but you can almost see his journey from where he started to where he's at. And as you say, I've never seen so many posts with other people tagging him in or commenting about him, because he's created that. And now he's becoming the subject of the posts and not the writer of the post.
Because he's created a non-selfish space in which to celebrate other people.
Well, that's just it. The more you can give, and that's the problem, is most people are looking what they can get. When it comes to anything with building their business, they're like, well, I want money. Of course, I mean, we all do. We're building businesses. We want money, of course. But that's a side effect of what can we give, so that we do get in the end, and it comes back around. No matter whether you shout somebody out, whether you have them on your show, whether you just drop a comment because there wasn't one on their post. I mean, whether you reach out and just, hey, how you doing? Just check in. You don't have to sell all the time. And I think that's a big thing, is everybody's trying to sell. We're trying to outshout, trying to do this, but stop it. Just get out there, start building your circles with the right people. I mean, you got to be some intentional. We're not talking, it can't be everybody, But be intentional about it and make those connections. And then the next thing you know, because you're giving, it's come right back around to you, and they're getting shouted out like Paul here.
Absolutely. I'm really sorry, but right when Heidi started that, another song came.
Oh, on, what song?
Go on.
Do you remember the old Curiosity Killed the Cat song? Hey, how you doing? Sorry you couldn't get through. Yeah, do you remember that?
Sorry, Steve, I'm going to encourage him.
It's a brilliant song, wasn't it? Brilliant song.
Was he the guy who like wore the beret on his side?
Sideways, yeah.
Straight
back down. Right.
What was his name? Oh, sorry, I've got to have a look.
Was it Ben? Was it Ben? Oh,
I remember the song, but not who sang it.
It was a great song. Absolutely. But
that was, yes, Ben Volpellier Pierrot.
No wonder I could only remember Ben.
That's why he's known as Ben.
But Curiosity Killed the Cat, and actually, that is actually a great kind of mantra, really, for what people should be doing. You know, you need to pique people's curiosity, and actually, you do that by not showing them every card at the first instance as well. That again is one of the problems that I see in terms of how people market themselves online. They go product.
Yeah.
Right.
Buy it.
This is not an advertising space, right? I know, like, to the side on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, there are paid for ads, and of course, if you're going to put a paid for ad, but then again, actually, even if you're going to do paid for ad, we now know that if the journey on that isn't as straightforward, unless it depends what it is. If it's something that people just need, right? Then you might need to come straight with your message, right? Yeah. I sell water, you know. I mean, that's fine. That's fine, right? If you're selling water, but generally, if it's a product or a service that's quite complex or multifaceted or whatever, actually, you need to take them on a bit of a journey. You need to learn something about them first. So that's why we know that things like scorecards or sort of quizzes that enable people to get something back about the information that they've given, tell them something about them. Again, it's about telling them something about themselves. But tell them something about themselves, make them feel, oh yeah, I know that now. Great, right? But you've now got their data. That's good. So then you can continue the conversation from where that started. Those kind of things need to work. But generally on LinkedIn, that kind of, oh, here it is, folks, right? We're going to sell you the ergonomic solution of the century, right? That doesn't work. That does not work, because as soon as people see it as like a, oh, here's a mouse, here's a keyboard, here's a chair, whatever, people are like, all right.
But that I think, again, we're not totally just shining the light on Paul, but as an example, what I've really noticed as well is, and obviously he sells stuff because that's what he does for a living, that's what his business does, but I noticed some of the things he's been talking about have been really interesting projects. The one he put on earlier this week was a big project he's got for sit-stand desks and things like that. I think that, and he might correct me, I think it's originated from the work he's done and how he's projected himself has helped generate a lot of those opportunities that he's got the opportunity as a relatively small business, and B, gone and won and got his invoice sales. And I do think that's played a part in a lot of those things that he's picked up has been on the back of the journey he's gone and how he's projected himself, and it's just matured all the way.
Well, that's because he's building credibility and trust by showing the case, and at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. I mean, especially in the online space, trust is the most underrated it's the most undervalued currency in general. Trust online is at all-time low, and trust even in the world is getting pretty low too, with just how people have done things and stuff like that. So when you show up and you share a project, you share what's going on in your world, you're not only building credibility, you're building trust, and you're not just shoving the product down the throat.
Yeah, and it's also to do with how you then present that as well. Again, too many corporates tend to share that information in too clinical a way, thinking that they need to, like, almost make it bigger than it is for a start, right? Which people see through, right? You know, I mean, we had an example of that, of someone in the industry. I'll say it in inverted commas because, you know, where they said, "Oh, we've won this account with a global company," right?
Yeah.
And they basically sold them one product.
Yeah.
You know, people kind of see through that if you can't. Whereas what he's doing is he's being very literal about what the size of the order is, right? He's literally showing you like the back of the van open with like the amount of desks that are in there. You can't really make that up, right? Or you can, you could go
but
you could, but it becomes more difficult. But he's also just he's writing about it in a more emotional way as well, right? And
he's sharing the story of it all. He's not just, oh, I delivered 5 desks today to XYZ company.
Yeah.
Instead, it's the whole experience that went along with that, right? I mean, I don't know him, but I'm picking up on the way you guys are doing this.
That's what he's doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So but that's context. And that's why trust is not there, is people are, okay, I just did a multi-million-dollar order to XYZ. Great. What happened? What'd you sell? How'd you do it? Give us the story.
What was hard? What was hard, right?
Yeah. What happened? Was there mistakes made? I mean, was it just a big celebration? Fine. Was it easy to do it? And why was it easy to do it? How'd you get there? Context, details. Give us give us everything, the story about how it happened, and all of a sudden we're interested.
Yeah.
Or something unique that happened, something fun that happened. Maybe it was something silly.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, you know, so someone asked a daft question, or that sparked a conversation, or you know,
something that we can attach onto and relate to. Yeah. I just wrote a newsletter 2 days ago. It was in response to somebody who said, "About pages don't work for me. Everybody should delete them." And I ended up writing a whole newsletter about it, and I had actually a lot more to say, but you know, you gotta give it in batches. But the reason most about pages don't work is because they aren't relevant to the audience. Instead, they're about me. I'm going to puff myself up, man. I'm going to talk all about me, and I'm going to do all of that. When an about page is really about sharing what's relevant about me for you.
Yeah.
And that's when an about page works. But that's for everything across the board, no matter what sale we make. If we're trying to connect and build that relationship so we can sell them something, we got to make ourselves relevant. And it's not through just saying, "Hi, I'm Heidi. I can be a better sales strategist. Now go buy my product." Instead, I'm going to tell you, let you get to know me, figure out why I can help you. And I do it because I come at it from a relationship standpoint, and I can teach you how to build those better relationships. I also come at it from a point, relationships take time. This isn't overnight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. By the way, Heidi, when Stephen turns into Hal, that's normally the postman's arrived. So if we see the dot in the corner, that's a delivery person, or someone's arrived, or one of the children is in the room at the back, or something like that. So he'll probably pop up again in a minute. But no, you're absolutely right. That about me section. I mean, for a start, most people on LinkedIn still use their about section almost like a CV.
That's horrible.
When there is already a CV section on LinkedIn. So, unless you are looking for a job, but even then, nobody wants it to sound like a CV. People want to know what you can do for them. People want to know what it is, what your unique relationship with them will be that will bring them something beneficial in their life. And employers need to know that as well, right? Yeah. There's a million CVs.
Yeah. Well, they need to know why you are relevant to them. How are you going to bring value? We're back to give to get. How are you going to bring value to their company if they hire you? And that goes for small business owners, that goes for big business, that goes for employees, that goes for everybody. You got to make yourself relevant.
Yeah, no, you completely need to make yourself relevant. What is the biggest? Oh, there he goes.
Sorry, we have there's some work going on out in the street, and I think they might have cut the electricity. So apologies. So I'm back. Apologies. So as you were.
There we go. What is the biggest crime that you see on LinkedIn, Heidi? We'll talk specifically about LinkedIn. I mean, there other social media platforms are available, but obviously, probably the biggest audience of this are on LinkedIn. What's kind of the biggest?
I mean, we could go with the that you're just mimicking everybody else talking about the same topic. I mean, we could go with all that direction, but in reality, the biggest thing I see on there is people trying to go for the sell too fast. They don't wait to build the relationship. They don't build the trust. They don't. It takes time. I mean, I just had, was it 6 months ago, someone has literally been in my circle for 5 years, converted to a client.
Yep.
5 years.
5 years.
Yep.
Nurturing, talking to this person. And I mean, it's not like I'm reaching out, hugging them every day.
You must have the same as me. It's one of the conversations that you kind of have when you're in this circle with clients as they come in, and Stephen, you must have it to a certain extent as well, which is that people go, well, how quickly will this work? You know?
Oh, I hate that
and you're like, okay, well,
how long is a piece of string?
Well, it's not that. You say it will work. It will work. What I would generally say to them is, it will start working straight away.
Yes.
It will start working straight away, but you've got to realize that this is a journey, right? So once you start the journey, the impact of being on that journey will have an impact. If you're talking about return on investment on that, right, that comes with time, right? Along the way, we will look for, because I understand business, right? Along the way, we will look for things that can immediately bring you money.
Yeah.
Right. So if as part of a strategy, we will always have a short-term strategy and a long-term strategy. And the short-term strategy might look for quick wins, which will bring you pots of money that will help you continue to pay you and me for doing this piece of work. But you have to look, if you want it to be really successful, you have to look at the long-term strategy.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think people don't really understand the word pipeline, which we use a lot with sales, of course. A pipeline is something that continuously gives, which means you've got to focus on those longer term relationships while the low hanging fruit. And if you're only focused on the low hanging fruit, that means every time you book your calendar, you stop marketing, which is what most people do because they're not committed to doing it continuously. So they keep that pipeline filled. Instead, because the long term ones take time, they take a little bit more work, they take a little bit more effort. And so people ignore those, instead go for what can I get now? And most people don't even realize only 3 to 5% of people are ready to buy today.
Yeah.
So you're ignoring the rest of those people, just counting them off as nope, they're never going to buy from me. In reality, they just need to be kept in your circle and you keep nurturing them.
Well, depending on which model you look at, the general sales circle, it has 6 to 8 processes in it that people will need to go through in order to actually buy. So if within that structure there's not 6 to 8 touch points, it's already probably failed, right?
Well,
but also you'd be a little bit concerned if someone bought
these days.
Yeah, you'd be a little bit concerned if everyone did buy instantly.
Yeah,
you'd be questioning, has this product or service got long-term? Has it got longevity? Is it going to be everyone's going to dive in and then it's going to die off? Is its pricing right? Is it too low? Is that why everyone's buying it? And have you got your sort of commercials wrong? So as you say, it needs that combination of almost short, medium, and long term, doesn't it? And that product or service will develop a longer period of time.
Now, having said all of that,
yes,
whilst sale is a dirty word. However, you know, I've heard like people say, "Oh, sales isn't a dirty word," and I say, actually, sales is a dirty word. No, nobody particularly likes talking about selling. Nobody particularly likes the idea of being sold to, although they sometimes quite like the process if it's done well.
Yeah.
Right. However, walking with and resourcing is what I normally talk about, because that just sounds so much better. However, if you come away from sales, which may get into that actual sale, which may take a bit of time, working with, collaborating with, forming relationship with, all of those things can happen straight away.
Yes.
All of those things can happen straight away. And it's my genuine belief that actually the biggest problem is that, people go straight in for the exchange of monies, as opposed to the exchange of time and shared value and resource, right? But those things will lead to the exchange of money. So, you know, focusing in on saying, right, do you know what? We could do something together, and we could actually make the world a better place together by doing this, right?
Yeah.
We could create a piece of content together. We could, you know, we could go on a podcast together. We could have a conversation about this in front of people, right? We could bring voices together to elevate voices around a particular thing. All of these things you can just do now, right? And people probably won't say no, partly because they're brainless and they're wandering around going, "Oh, I'm just going to stick a product on LinkedIn and wonder why nobody's buying it." So they are probably really happy to do that stuff with you because they want to make things work as well, right? So you can bring people into that straight away. It's
how you do it.
It's how you do it, and then the resourcing bit should come naturally as that relationship develops. You know, we need this to happen. You need this to happen now. I need this to happen now. Everybody involved needs this to happen now. We need some money for this to make it happen. Let's make it happen together. You know, if we start making things happen together rather than I've got to sell, you know, it becomes much easier to get monies off of people, because it's not a sale, it's a resource.
Yeah, it becomes as easy. I mean, if you come at it with empathy and understanding, and you just have a conversation with someone, and you know what I mean? Think about it. In the real world, in person, just say a friend was having a problem, you all met at a coffee shop, and you sat down and do a little problem solving through conversation, and you came up with a solution by the end they could try. You could do that same thing online. If you do that with everybody, you're just, okay, what's your problem? Okay, let's just talk about it. Talk it through. What can we do? And you know what? Sometimes it's not always you that is the solution. But if you give them a solution, you've built trust. And when they do need you, they'll come right back. Because again, we're building trust. We're building credibility. We're showing we're not just after their bank account.
Absolutely. Heidi, it's been brilliant meeting you today.
Yeah.
Thank you. Really
What's
good.
your problem? What's your name? Lost your tongue. Cat took it away. There's another one. Blancmange.
Before you forget, give us your joke, Graham.
Yeah, I was gonna say the joke. All right. 2 sheep in a field.
Okay.
One says bar. The other one says you bar. I wanted to say that.
Clever joke.
Anyway.
Yes. On that note.
Oh dear. Yes, on that note, thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you, Heidi, for coming along. Thank you, Stephen. If you've got a better joke that you'd like us to tell next week, or next 2 weeks time, when we're next on, do bring it in.
There's an idea for a show. We just basically go, it's like open mic.
Oh,
and we
I
just
like
get people
that.
to come on with their best jokes.
I do like that.
Ooh, that'd be a great episode.
But the joke has to be relevant to their business.
Okay.
Ooh, even better. And clean, guys. Everybody knows I tend to drop the F-bomb, but it's still got to be clean.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's got to be clean, and it's got to be relevant to your business. There's the challenge. If you think you can do that, do let us know. We will be back 2 weeks' time. Until then, from Heidi, from Stephen, from me, bye for now.